Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining everybody for another Tuesday discussion. Here on Tuesdays, we do like to take questions and comments either from Instagram, YouTube, or from our wonderful Patreon community, which then inspires the content we create on Tuesdays. So if you have an idea for something, put it in the comments. Today's video is going to be a follow-up to the prior review. Did a review of ECBP C924, and like any Elijah Craig barrel proof batch, after I get done with the review, it's time to do a blind, especially once you have the ABC batches of that year. I do have a twist though, and we'll get to that after the intro. Thank you for joining today, whiskey friends. Let's kick off the show. All right. So for today, we are doing a blind of all of the 2024 Elijah Craig barrel proofs. The C924, the B524, and the A124. Now, within those, I wasn't a big fan of the A batch. B batch recovered a little bit, but I wasn't a big fan. The C batch this year, though, I gave it an 87. Go check out that detailed review if you're interested to hear more about that. But I was really, really high on it. Now, I was surprised after I do the reviews, after I record my scores and record the video, I can then finally go out and see how other people felt about the pour. Man, there's some varying opinions out there. Particularly strange that people that seemed to get it a month ago had less of an opinion on it than the people that kind of reviewed it over the last week. Not going to say laser code, not going to look into that too much, but I thought that was kind of an interesting trend there. So with that said, I gave it an 87 out of 100 points, and that's a very high score for the channel, puts it in my top 10 for this year. Now, what I also have the advantage of is I have scored meticulously every batch of Elijah Craig barrel proof that I can get my hands on. That includes 2 of the Pirate batches and every batch from 2017 on. Essentially every batch that had an ABC lettering. Now, in the end, an 87 out of 100 tied this year's C924 for 8th on that list amongst 4 other bottles. So there is a little bit of a log jam at that 87 score. C917, B519, C921, and then C924 were the ones I had all right there at an 87. So for the twist, I've got 4 glasses in front of me here. I've got an A glass, a B glass, a C glass, and then a D glass. So what I thought would be interesting is not only evaluate this year's C batch against the other batches from 2024, but to also see how it measures up against a prior C batch that I gave the exact same grade, the C917. So I've kind of got 2 different things going on here, a blind within a blind, and then we will open up the solution at the end. All right, I'm excited to get into this. I'll try to edit this thing down so I keep it around hopefully 10 to 12 minutes, but as I do my back and forth, I'll try to shrink it down for you. But let's get into this. The best part too, by the way, whenever I do an Elijah Craig blind like this, not only am I picking a winner, I'm always the winner because all of these are good one way or another. It's just a matter of which one is going to be great. Cheers, everybody. Let's get into this first one here. I'm going to go through the nose, and then ultimately I'm going to do some rankings between the nose, front, mid, and the finish, and then I'll give some final thoughts as well as we go through this. So A, right off the bat, comes off really, really nutty, which is interesting because that was actually a lot of people's critique on the C924 that at least I didn't agree with for my first couple pours, and then when I scored it, I mean, I had some nutmeg there, but this is really nutty. Let's get into B. Ooh, okay, B is different entirely. More peanut shells and a lot more vanilla. Yeah, peanut shells and vanilla is what sticks out on that one. Little hints of fruit on that too. So going into C, still getting a bit of peanut shells. Really light in terms of just the depth of flavor on C. So D actually comes across the brightest. There's probably less oak presence than A and B. C didn't give me too much. D is more bright leaning. My mind immediately went to thoughts of angel food cake. That was a note that I called out on C924. I'm going to try to get that out of my head, though. The whole point of this is not to guess which batch is which. A little bit of fruits on that one, too. All right, D does fit that profile. I am going to try to ignore the fact that I just said that. I'm between B and D. D essentially has more depth in the flavor, whereas B has a better oak profile. So I got to choose which one of those I like better. Ooh, man, B is beautiful. I'm going to put B as number one on the nose, mainly because of its blend of the light vanillas, but also that rich oak, whereas D has some delicious flavors going on. Um, this cakiness, this uh, fruit sauce, a little bit of custard. Oh, shoot, I'm talking myself into it. That better be that by the end. We'll see how it tastes. Um, C is the worst, and then that puts A third. Okay, so B wins on the nose. All right, let's go through a taste of each of these. Cheers, everybody. We're going to start with A, work our way through, and then see if there's any need for any comparisons here. Now, one of the things I will be looking out for when comparing Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, flavors are one thing. Flavors can be subjective as well. The flavor notes can be subjective. A lot of the times when I'm doing this type of comparison, I'm actually looking for the experience and any deficiencies, any places where it doesn't feel as rich on the palate, if it feels muted on the palate at any point, how long's the finish? Those can be some distinguishing characteristics. Into A. Mm. A is really, really nutty. Gosh darn. Overwhelmingly nutty. Peanut butter mixed with some peanut shells. I mean, it's chunky peanut butter. There is a nice lingering oak on the end. Another thing that stood out to me, it did seem kind of faint initially up front. I'll go in for one more sip. Yeah, it's kind of boring up front. Then it's all like just straight nuttiness. Mid palate. Ooh, that overwhelms. Let's get into glass B. Mmm. Ooh, okay. Glass B moves in an incredibly different way. Very flavorful up front. It actually kind of got more muted mid palate and then gained momentum into the finish. So that's kind of interesting. The finish is mainly oak by comparison there, almost even to a hint of furniture varnish kind of oak. So getting into a deeper age statement there. Some lovely vanilla custard up front, getting a bit of cherry mid palate too to go along with that oak. Rich caramel, custard. Oh, and then that oak at the end. All right, B's really good. I'm feeling bad for glass C here. It got washed out on the nose. Let's see if it does the palate. Oh, that's a cool, interesting turn. Huh. Oh, that's interesting. Hmm. I don't know if I detected that before. There, that's a different kind of note. It's interesting. There's a note on C that actually reminds me of our Blue Note pick that just came out. It's essentially a cross between either a key lime pie or wheatgrass or fresh moss, something of that sort. I've heard it described in so many different ways. Was not expecting that there. The vanilla's there. The oak is really not there. It was really weak up front. That was confusing. Oh, that's so interesting. It has that note. Huh. That's such a strange note to trigger. I can't wait to see what Glass C is. I don't think it's going to stand up in this flight, though. Oh my gosh, that is off profile. That doesn't even make any sense to me right now. Let's get into Glass D. Cheers, everybody. Oh, that nose is good. Mm. There is some nuttiness on that one. I know I wasn't getting on the nose. Hits me like nutmeg. Man, I'm talking myself into it. The notes are exactly what I said before on the C924. It's some custard, some angel food cake, kind of representing the vanilla elements. It's got a little bit of a cherry to strawberry fruit reduction on it. And it's sprinkled in a bit of chocolate and a bit of nutmeg. Now, with that said, there isn't a lot of oak on D. Now I say that and I get it on the nose. Yeah, the oak, ooh, it's there. It's more subdued than B. A was all nutty. All right, this is a race between glass B and D. C is off profile and very, very surprising, but it is going to be just my least favorite of this. And honestly, A isn't that far behind. That one just came across like chunky peanut butter with peanut shells mixed in. Like, that was kind of getting me there. So really, this is just a race between two glasses, B and D. Dang, that's a close race. Dang. I think I like D. I like D more overall here. So B for me. B for me is richer up front, pulls back a little bit mid palate, and then when it comes back roaring into the finish, it's mostly just the oak profile that remains. Oak, Hershey syrup, chocolate, but that's the type of profile that remains. Bit of the nuttiness too. The nuttiness is there, more of a creamy peanut butter. Whereas D starts out initially on the front of the palate more subdued and very bright. Whew. And when it goes into mid palate, it definitely outshines B. The volume on the flavors and the depth of the flavors exceeds what's going on glass B. And then the finish, it doesn't transition. It's all the same flavors that I said earlier, but they keep and maintain their richness and volume all throughout, and it's still going now. So D is going to end up winning this due to its superior mid palate and finish experience. All right. So that's going to be the rankings here. I've got the envelope. I don't know which. I think one of the C batches won. I think now I say C batch and then I say the word C. I think Glass C is the A batch from this year, and I think Glass A is the B batch from this year. I would only venture to guess that glass B is the C917 only because of that richer oak profile. And we know that this year's C batch is 11-year age dated. All right, let's get into the results here. All right. All right. So in last place was confirmed the A124. If you have the A124 and you have the Blue Note, give those a side by side for me. That is uncanny. It's still, even now that I know what it is, I'm still getting that note that drives us nuts. Marty, I think you can help me with this. Compare A124 to the Blue Note. Oh, that dang Blue Note. It's altered my brain chemistry, Marty. I'm telling you. All right. Now with second place was the B batch from this year. So it's the B524. So that answers that question automatically. A is the worst batch of the year. B was second, though frankly, I don't know. This was a two-horse race. And then the C batch, which I now know, but I'll reveal in a moment. You know, we got the battle of the C batches. Second place is surprisingly the C917, and in first place is the C924. So the C924 beat the C917 head to head. Though, if I were to break it down as far as my rankings are concerned, I say it technically beat it by a tie, because I said the nose and the front palate was better on the C917, but the mid palate and the finish were better on the C924. If I had the chance to buy a C917, I would do so in a heartbeat, which pretty much means I should try to back up the C924, which isn't something that I hear people talking about yet. So I don't know. I feel like people are sleeping on this batch a little bit. Let me know what you think in the comments of all this. Gosh, I am overwhelmed at this point. But let me know what you think in the comments of the C924 coming out over the C917. If you've had this batch, let me know what you think. And I dare you to blind the C924 against some other batches that you like. You know, I think the thing that does stick out to me with the C924, that it didn't hold it back necessarily here in the end because the experience was stronger. But man, was that oak profile much different than the C917, kind of showing that age statement part of it. Still, in the end, though, I'd say those were equal whiskeys. Man, age statement's not everything. So let me know what you think about all this. If there's another blind you'd like me to do, let me know. Till next time, we'll catch you later, whiskey friends. Goodbye, everybody.